Welcome to the Strongmansay podcast. We're going to start with a big thank you to Australia's Strongest for getting rid of the banding system. We were just laughing about it as coaches. It's wonderful not having to do 15, 20 programs every 3 months in 1 week.
Yeah.
Plus coach on the weekend. Fun. Yeah, it's a busy time.
Go to one comp, coach everybody, message everybody at the other comp. How you doing?
Yeah. Yep. Next program's ready. Let's go.
Yeah.
This week, obviously last week we had Mitch in. This week we actually said, do we have anything to talk about this week? We've kind of exhausted it, but there is a lot to talk about. The ASM and middleweight series finals are up. Those are the two biggest comps coming up. Australia's strongest man, Australia's strongest middleweight across the weight classes. So super exciting. They are the big key competitions for any weight class athlete and for the top of the sport, the heavyweight athletes. So pretty exciting times coming up in the next couple of months because they are our premier comps in the country.
Yeah, I actually really like all the events. I don't say that often.
Ever.
There's always a comp where I'm like, I hate that event. That's a stupid event. I think I like it because it's simple, it's heavy.
Yeah.
It's one implement, not
Strongman.
heaps.
It's Strongman again. Like, it's good. Like, they're good. Like, I love that they've gone 2 days, 8 events for middleweight series, just like ASM too, because I feel like sixes, you might as well just do 6 in 1 day. Like three events in a day is not a real job.
Yeah, we had the time.
Like work.
We had heaps of time on both days to have an extra event per day.
And it makes it interesting because there's just more opportunities for competition, like for more events, more points shared, more opportunities to get up or under other people.
Well, all top level comps have 7 or 8.
Yeah.
So then whoever wins, it's just like, hands down.
Yeah.
You were the best across both days because it wasn't, these events are good for you.
Yeah.
If they're good for you when there's 8 events, then you're just good at everything.
Yes, I agree. I'm all for it. So really excited to see both comps because I also love the events on both days. I think they're really, really fun events, good strongman events, good to train for too. Writing programs and stuff for these comps coming up has been cool. Like, I enjoyed them.
Like I said, people aren't pulling out 4 different things. Yeah. Warming up on those, packing those up, things like that. Yeah,
it's super fun. So it's going to be good to watch. And if you're at the meat stocks, PSA as well, because now I'll say this live because we have our accommodation booked. But if you are going to Toowoomba,
Toowoomba's
jump on because the pro bull riding, is that why they PBR? Is following meat stock this year. I believe that is why. But it will be very busy, and Toowoomba has 0 accommodation, pretty much.
Yeah, I think someone the other day said that tickets were near sold out, if not close to sold out on some days.
So if you've got people coming to watch, make sure they get on tickets. Yeah. If you're looking for accommodation and stuff, get on accommodation pretty quick because it looks like it's going to be tough out there to find somewhere to sleep unless you're going to camp or get a camper van, which was our second option.
Which it is hot in Toowoomba.
Camper vans have aircon.
It's not really camping.
Tents don't. I mean, you
just bring in a small
house. You can tent it
house.
if you like.
Bringing a tiny house.
ASM events. Do you want to rattle those events off for us?
Yeah, I won't be able to remember them.
Young
off
Jamie.
the top of my head.
We should give this drop to Josh. Yeah, young Jamie over there
runs through the events. Heavy yoke, 10 meters each way.
Yep.
450,
same
300
as series. That one, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's fun.
Same event for middleweights.
Which I like too. We talked about this a while ago about even we should almost do the same events.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It'll be fun to see.
Well, I messaged Mason before he had posted the middleweight events.
Yeah.
He'd already figured out the events. And I'm like, can we just do the same thing?
Oh, so is that how you're supposed to go about it? You're supposed to message the promoters, not
friendly message.
Yeah.
Friendly message. I was like, can we please do these events? Otherwise, I'm going to my story.
Yeah, I'm going to put them on my stories.
Yeah. There's 10 people that actually watch my stories.
Yeah.
Between all my athletes lifting stuff. Yeah.
I get about 4 stories deep on yours and I just swipe.
I'm surprised anybody still follows me and just doesn't block it.
You know when you see the bars?
Yep.
And like I wouldn't even watch my own stories, like Q&A days when there's like heaps of stories. Too much.
No, none of it's of me.
No.
Everyone's like, you don't post anything of yourself. I'm like, yeah, I know.
And you're so pretty. Anyway, ASM events.
Axle overhead.
Yep, fun. New Australian record to be broken, I reckon.
Yep. 175 5.
Yeah, I
Is
think
the
so. We had it at
previous
ASM
from
a few years
Warwick?
ago. Yeah.
No, didn't Warwick have it?
Nah, I think it didn't get broken when we did it at Fed Square.
Maybe. I don't know who's got
Maybe
it
no
then.
one got it.
Yeah. Everyone got 170.
Yeah.
It was like Sam, Vernon, and
And Corey.
Will.
And Corey, I think.
Will and Corey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a few.
Tie flip.
Yep.
5 flips.
Yep.
That's it. Frame hold.
Yep.
Max deadlift.
No suit.
No suit, figure 8s.
Mm-hmm.
No finger tipping.
Mm.
No cheating.
Mm.
Quest stone carry.
Yep.
Dumbbell for reps.
Yep.
And stone to shoulder.
Yeah. Sick. Love it.
Simple, effective.
Yeah.
Heavy, hard.
Fun.
Guys' weights are very, very heavy.
Yep.
As they should be.
Yep.
Mind you, the yoke's about the same weight as it's been for
Yeah.
3 or 4 years. It's
Yeah.
a good
slightly
weight. It's a
different,
hard
but it's
weight.
a good weight. Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't need to be heavier.
No, I don't think so. Especially when you look at like world level competitions and stuff. Like you're not seeing a 500 kilo yoke at many comps, if any comps, even in the heavyweights. Yeah.
It's every now and then.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of the weights are good across the board. Women's weights weighed up against the guys. I think they're going to have more reps.
Yep.
I think it's slightly lighter for their end.
Yep.
Whether that's intentional or not, but I think the women will
Mm.
come out and do a lot more and
Yeah,
run
like
some of
work.
those heavier weights
Yeah.
quicker.
Yeah.
Whereas some of the guys are going to struggle with it. But yeah, otherwise, good events.
Super exciting. Yeah, I think it's really good. There's a good mix of events. I think it's going to be interesting to see some of the statically stronger guys. There's a few events in there that are kind of skill-based, speed-based.
Yeah.
It's heavy, but I think if you're just like brute strong, I don't think you're going to do as well as what you will if you're like a strong technician also.
Yeah.
With things like stone to shoulder and stuff like that, even like a tire flip, knowing how to flip a tire well.
Yeah, and not
Goes in.
cook yourself for the next event.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? There's some really good heavy events in there, but there's also like a lot of events where I feel like guys will be able to get points just based on their proficiency with the actual implements or the skill.
Yeah.
Even like the composite dumbbell, like we've been playing with.
Yeah, that's hard.
The first time I've beaten Lee Shaw on a monster dumbbell, by the way.
It's fine. You can claim it.
Yeah, like, I can't claim much when it comes to a dumbbell anyway.
Yeah.
And it'll take him 3 weeks to figure it out. Then I'll be back in my.
I figured it out yesterday.
See, there you go.
If you watch my stories, you would have
I
seen
do.
that.
I do. I just don't get that deep.
Yeah.
I don't have the attention span for it.
No, I did well this week.
God, great.
Did like 8 sets of doubles, didn't miss one.
Cool.
It just worked. I can't remember the term for it, but there's like a memory in your brain that will keep ticking over after you've done something.
Yeah, it's like when you like try to learn something guitar, or
Yeah,
musical instrument,
exactly.
and you keep fucking it up, and then you go away, and you try it the next day, and suddenly you got it, and you nail it, and you're like, oh, what the fuck? It's like, yeah,
happens on everything. Like playing video games, you can't beat one level. Come back the next day and just blitz it.
Yeah, definitely.
Can't remember what it's called, but yeah, I kind of knew that was going to happen either this week, next week.
Yeah.
At some stage.
Sooner the better.
Yeah, so I just kept putting it there and I'm like, nope, that's wrong. Yeah. That's wrong. And then just packed it up. Like, didn't get the shits, didn't go, can't do it. I was just like, next week I'll come in and it'll probably just work.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I definitely think with the ASM stuff, it'll be interesting. There's going to be a good like little, there'll be plenty of point shed around. There's probably some standout guys that will be strong across those events, but I think there's a lot of opportunity for the other guys in that mid-pack to kind of get some high placings in those events too.
There's a few of those events where I can't pick a standout like, oh, that's that person's event, they're going to win. Like deadlift is much easier.
Yes.
Yoke is probably kind of easier, but stone to shoulder, a 150 stone.
Yeah. Starts to get hard.
Couldn't pick who's going to do
for reps.
Everyone's probably going to do 3.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people might get stuck there.
Yeah. Be interesting. Middleweight series events too.
So we got the yoke, the dumbbell.
Mm-hmm.
What else do we have? Yeah. I was thinking of the ones that we've got the same. Maybe that's it. Deadlift, max deadlift.
Yeah.
I think those 3 are the same.
Yeah.
I
assume our rules aren't the same for the max deadlift with ASM and...
No, so ASM is 20 kilo jumps.
But no skips.
Yeah, once you're in, you're in.
Yeah.
The women for Australia's Strongest is 10 kilo jumps. Once you're in, you're in.
Yeah.
we have 10 kilo jumps for middleweights,
find that
and
strange.
the women for middleweights have 5 kilo jumps.
Yeah, no skips.
Yeah. I can see there being a lot of ties in Australia's Strongest Man and Woman. 20 kilo jumps, like
Yeah, yeah.
320, 340, 360, 380. Everyone's going to get
Everyone's at
caught.
360 or 380.
Maybe two get 380 and have a crack at 290, but
Yeah.
unless they're jumping in at 380,
Yeah.
that's a lot of reps.
Yeah.
Similar with us. I don't think I'm pulling anything big if I have to do 280, 290, 300,
Yeah.
310.
I know. It's interesting that the Viking presses pick your attempts
Yep.
on an arbitrary piece of equipment where the load can change so dramatically. Just in terms of the load that you actually put on does not equate to the load of the handle. It could be a different implement. So you choose your weight, but you're actually not really sure of the weight and how big that jump is going to feel, kind of thing.
Yeah. I think if those flipped around, it would work well.
It doesn't really, that's probably the one rule that I see that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, especially because like 10 kilo jumps not being able to skip and not having a 3 attempt rule kind of thing means that like deadlifts is a long time. Like if you have guys doing 6 or 7 deadlifts, setting up for deadlifts, strapping in kind of stuff, that's a very, very long, arduous kind of like event to sort of like play out. Where in Viking press, it would be very quick, like a 10 kilo jump rising Viking press. And the load, like 10 kilo and 5 kilo for females, for example, on the Viking press will kind of make sense.
Yeah, you just sit there and just whack 5s
in and out,
on.
whack 5 on, next one in, let's go, press, get it or don't get it, right? So that makes sense for me from like both the promoter's point of view, like speed and efficient comp, but also from an athlete point of view. No one's going to pull a heavy deadlift with 10 kilo jumps not out.
Yep.
But it's also a lot of deadlifts if someone jumps in a little bit early, which is fine, like strategy-wise. If they burn themselves out early, that's kind of a fun part, I guess. I could see that. But I think it's a long time to be deadlifting or for an event to run through with only 10 kilo jumps. People won't be out for a while.
Yep.
You also, like 10 kilo jumps for males. Like I take 30, 40 kilo jumps on top-end deadlifts.
Yeah.
Like 10 kilo jumps is one small when it's like you're looking at above 90% of your max. I just don't see anyone deadlifting anything large.
Yeah. It depends what I guess they're after and what it looks like.
Yeah, it depends what the promoters are after.
If they want it to be a tight battle where people do tie and then somebody just squeezes out that extra jump. Yeah. And that's the showcase. Yeah. It works well. But if you want to see people have a crack at records and pull big numbers, then you just go powerlifting 3 attempts. Because even if it was 20 kilo jumps for you, you're still not going to go 320, 340, 360, 380 and have a crack at 400.
Not generally.
If you got to pick your 3, you'd do what?
I would.
A 320, but you do a 320, 330, and then you do like a 360 in the middle.
I'd usually go
and then
like,
you'd have a crack at 4.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So if they want to, like if ASM, if anybody wants to pull 400, 410, 420, then their first one's going to have to be.
Because there's no suits either, so.
No.
Not
it's
raw,
day 2, event 1.
Yeah. But the pick your attempt on Viking press kind of confuses me a little bit.
It's fine if the Viking is the exact same as our Viking.
Yeah, you can
and it's the exact same setup,
Yeah.
and we know our numbers. Kind of. Even still, the other day,
it changes it so much.
Even still, we were going back and forth, being like, "Doesn't this weigh this?" And you're like, "No, it weighs this."
Well, you're like, "Okay, cool." You add 20 kilos on there, and you're like, "Oh, they add 10 kilos on there," and you're like, "Okay, cool, that's 130." But if you're like, "Cool, that felt pretty good," I'll add 15 kilos or something like that for my second attempt, but the load is at the handles, for example, to try and implement, then that can feel wildly different because you're actually loading 15 kilos. If you're used to adding 15 kilos and knowing how that feels, and now the load is shifted and you add 15 kilos, completely different ball game. Could be a completely different lift. Yeah. That's probably the only rules for the middleweight series that like had me a little bit just kind of confused, or I guess just like curious as to what the idea behind those were.
Yeah, it'll work well for the sandbags. Everyone just jumps in at a lightweight.
Oh yeah,
throw
for sure. The sandbag's fun.
Sandbag,
2.5 kilos up, bang, 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 throw it over a bar.
Yeah,
super fun. So we got truck pull, which will be good, 15 meters.
Might be longer.
Yeah, I think it's 15. Not a huge shed. So day one, yoke, 10 meters,
Yoke.
10 meters back,
Yep.
which I like the drop. It adds an extra element to it too.
That's gonna
Speed
suck
transition when
for some
you exhale after that next one. The next one you kind of have to breathe on a little bit. It makes it a little bit
Yep.
harder.
people. Viking press is the second.
Viking
truck
press.
pull's the third.
Yeah.
Sandbag throws the fourth.
Sandbags are 4th.
So it's a pretty easy day one.
Yeah, not a bad day one. Then you got max deadlift to start off day two.
Which I like. If day one's going to be brutally heavy, then day two can't be brutally, like, put your heavy stuff with your heavy stuff, which this seems like that's what it is. Because then you got max deadlift, then you got farmers, which is light, but it's 40
It's light.
meters.
But it's 40 or 30.
Yeah, 40.
30.
Maybe it's 30.
Yeah, which is light. Well, it's like what 130, 120 for you guys.
Yep.
Which is light at our level.
Yep.
But it's an 8-event competition, so
Yeah.
something's got to give, I guess. Like if you're going to do 8
Yeah.
events.
The dumbbell as well, composite dumbbell.
Yeah.
And then stone over bar.
Yeah.
Which is 1.3 and 1.2. So flip the other way. ASM's heavy for the guys.
Yep.
The women are pretty statically strong. Like those weights are somewhat manageable.
Yep.
Like they got like a 90 kilo stone to shoulder. Most of them will be able to do
Yep.
a good chunk of reps. Middleweight series is kind of the opposite. The
Yeah.
women, it's heavy. All of it's heavy.
Yeah.
Like the 82s have 90 kilo per hand farmers.
Yeah.
They have a 110 stone. I only have a 140 stone.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have it heavy.
Yeah.
We have it relatively light.
Yeah.
So that I can see flipping around. Guys
Yeah.
getting a heap of reps, women getting one or two.
Yeah, for sure. Having a harder time.
Yeah.
But good events, they'll be great comps. Great comps
Yeah.
to watch, great comps to
Whoever
be in.
wins is
Yeah.
going to be the best overall.
And it's
a
really
very
cool.
big mix of events.
And the first year where like people have had to earn their place, not just get invited to like that middleweight series
Yep.
event kind of deal, where people have worked all year towards being able to come to this final. So you'll have
Yep.
less people pulling out. People will want to be there, but people will be hungry to do well too.
Yeah.
Across both. Same with ASM. People have had to earn their spots. So you'd expect less pullouts. You'd
Yeah.
hope.
Already the lineup of who's qualified is
Yeah.
deeper than if you just invited the same 6 or the same 8 people.
I agree.
Because you invite the same 8 that go, no, I'll just skip it this year. I'll come
Yeah.
back next year.
So I think that's one really cool thing that we've seen with this qualifying process is at these top end comps.
Yep.
The qualified athletes and the people that are like some surprises in there too. Some people that wouldn't have got a look in otherwise, but they're
Yep.
qualified, which is cool.
Yep.
But there's some really, really good depth and some good variety in the competitors across all those events, across ASM and middleweight series of
Yeah.
finals. So
Yeah, it's by far the deepest ASM.
yeah,
It's probably not, there's probably not the biggest heavy hitters that some previous years have had. There's
Yep.
always been 1 or 2 or 3 that are just like world's strongest.
but maybe
men
one of the
level.
best competitions that we're going to see.
It'll be the closest, I think.
Yeah, which will be great.
I don't think I could pick between like 6 people.
Yeah, I know. Everyone's like, "Oh, what's your predictions?" And I'm like, "It's hard to say."
Yeah.
Well, usually it's
The
pretty
the women's
comfortable.
the same as well.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that person's static and they've got 4,
Mm.
but this person moves quick and they'll probably win 4 or something like that.
Yeah, it'd be super
So-
interesting.
Yeah.
And I guess with the conclusion of these big comps, so you've got middleweight series, ASM coming up. We've just had ASI. A lot of people are moving into their off seasons, right? Or
Yeah.
like looking at what's coming next. And we were kind of chatting before this podcast about off seasons or non-specific or general phases
Yep.
of physical preparedness.
Yeah.
Being an opportunity for skill.
Yeah. It's a good opportunity to rotate things that you want to do. Dare I say, be a little bit west side in what you do. Rotate things. Don't have to throw
Dare
bands
I
and
say.
chains.
We've done it plenty of times. In the
We don't throw,
off-season
we don't throw bands and chains on everything, and we don't do velocity
on some things.
meters. We don't track velocity.
No, but we just move fast.
Yeah, I look at you lift and go, that's too slow.
Yeah.
I don't need a measurer to know that that's
tired,
not good
bro?
enough.
That's pretty much how it goes.
Yeah.
Slow.
Mm.
You go, I know.
Everyone else around's just like, what
Fuck, that's so quick.
you did so well. I'm like, bad day? Yeah, bad day.
Yep.
But yeah, like there's so many, you don't even have to be an athlete so much, but there's so many just basic skills. if you don't know how to Viper press a log,
Yes.
it's going to make you more dynamic and quicker on the clean. It's going to give you a better clean. It's something that you can use on a lighter weight.
Yes.
One motioning a stone.
There's
to rip through a stone run.
Basic skills, but there's a lot of skills in strongman to know.
Yeah.
There is 1,000 variations of these events.
Yep.
There's 1,000 different ways it could be loaded, whether it's light or heavy. There's so much variation in how these events will present in a strongman competition when it's on season, which means, or at least talking about, is when those skill times or when those like times to refine skills happen, and it's like, yeah, let's learn a Viper press.
Yep.
Yeah, let's learn how to one motion a stone or shoulder a stone or practice my push jerk, whatever it is. The benefits will just carry over to the normal parameters of how you normally would move.
Yeah.
But the great thing that happens is when you go to your on season, you're putting new arrows in the quiver to pull out when an event comes up and you go, oh, that's pretty light. I'll be able to whip those through with Vipers and be a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
I'll be able to on motion those first 3 stones. Like now's the time for skill, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what it is. And even like push jerks, like you said, I'll give people push jerks in an off season, not necessarily to think that's going to be your comp lift, but it forces them, if they've got a bad push press and they kind of strict press it out and their leg drive sucks, you can't have bad leg drive on a push jerk, because if you press it out, it's not a push jerk anymore. You just butchered it.
People are hurt out there.
Yeah.
Because I see a lot of press out push jerks.
Yeah. It's not meant to be.
No. When I program push jerks, and it's mostly for skill, and there's like catching here, so knees bent, catch position, elbows, it's like, no.
When people do that, I'm like, we may
locked.
as well just go back to push press, because that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're just doing it even worse, because now your knees are bent. You're not stable.
Yeah.
All your joints are bent.
Maybe the worst position you could be in.
Yeah. You either drive up, your lower body's locked.
Yeah.
And you press.
Yeah.
Or you throw it and catch, your upper body's locked and your lower body's
and
bent.
Using your legs.
If your knees are bent, your hips are broken, your elbows are bent, like you're just in a bad spot.
Yeah.
It's not anything
it's
good.
not a good time.
No, you're just going to fold. So, yeah, arrows in quiver, like, unless you're Superman and you can just walk around and, like, punch buildings over, you kind of need to be Batman and have a little utility belt for every little job that you do. So if you're brutally strong, you can just bash your head into things and get
back
through.
To DC. DC man over here.
Really not.
DC or Marvel, yeah.
Depends. If you're talking about movies,
yeah,
no one's DC.
Yeah.
No one. I went and watched Black Adam.
Oh, yeah.
Because I just had to see it.
I saw it too.
And yeah, there's heaps of bad things about it, but I'm like, I'm pretty easy to please. I can get around to like a good movie.
I am with an action movie like that. Like, it's fine.
It's hard to watch because I already knew that The Rock was cut. Like, he's not coming back.
Yeah, he made a post for it. And I watched it because of that. I watched it because I saw him post that it wasn't coming back, that we've had this like discussion and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, it must have been bad.
And then
watch it.
and then like Superman jumps in at the end and it's like the face off and it's like, he's also getting recast.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, I just give up. And I watched the new Batman and I just can't handle it.
Oh, Twilight, dude.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's all I can see.
Great, but wasn't bad.
That's all I can see. He just looks emo.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, can't do it.
I can't remember what we're talking. Utility belt, Batman.
Yeah, Batman.
Yeah.
Don't be Robin. Be Batman. No one wants to be Robin.
I definitely agree with that sentiment. Like, it is your key time. There is so many events. If there's events that you haven't touched in a while, like I got a couple of my guys doing like axle cleans and axle press. They don't have axle coming up, but they're shite with an axle.
Yeah.
Right. Like guys that have trouble with the clean, they're heavyweight guys. They can press fucking 140, 150 overhead, but they can't clean it.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, we're doing cleans. Like
it's no different than if you're slow.
Yeah.
Do some speed events, like grab a sandbag, rip into it and run.
Yeah, and time your runs, right?
Yeah.
Like if on your off season, if you're doing speed work, you're doing like sandbag runs or you're really slow with a yoke, do lots of like use the parameters of, you know, like if you're doing speed work, we do high amount of sets, low amount of reps, for example, at a 50 to 70% intensity range. Right?
Yeah.
That's a very broad stroke in terms of like what we would use for dynamic effort, right?
Yep.
In any form. if you're doing speed work for strongman, think of it as doing 8 sets of 10 with the yoke, timed at 70%. Work on your gait, work on your footwork, work on your speed, work on your back tension when you're moving. Work on the small things that are the skill-based things. So when it gets heavy, it's better. When it's a little bit heavier, you're a little bit faster, right?
Yeah.
Like things like that.
You can break it down to the start of yoke and do 5 meter runs and just practice your takeoff.
Yeah, totally.
If you suck at taking
100%, right? If you suck at the pick. And if you're weak, it's the same thing. If you are heading into your off season, take a step back, take stock of where you're at. I made a joke with one of our members the other day. She probably listens. You'll know straight away. But it was like comp ends and she's like, oh, I really want to do like a bit of CrossFit stuff. I really want to do like athlete stuff. And I'm like, you're not strong enough.
Yeah.
Like while we don't want to be doing cardio stuff, I don't want to be giving you supersets of metcons and stuff like that, because what you actually need to be working on is your stability and your strength, because you're not stable and you're not strong.
We want to do things that we're good at.
Yeah, because we like doing it and we're like huffing and puffing. And I understand there's like a time and place for just like enjoying training as well.
Yeah.
But if
we also look at it from a competitive lens.
Yeah.
If you want to be a good competitor, use your off season wisely. Don't just
This is the thing.
mess about.
It's like if you just train and compete for enjoyment, fine. If you
Yeah.
want to be a fucking athlete, do your job.
Yeah.
It's like it's not always fun stuff.
Yeah.
It's not always about I want to do what I want to do and it's fun. It's like, okay, this is what I'm bad at. I need to tick the box for 8 weeks so I'm better at it, and then I'll transition back into the stuff that I enjoy.
Yeah.
And that's why I made a wince, because it's like, yes, there's a time and place to do what you like doing, but if you actually treat this like a job and you want to be an athlete, well, then there's not.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of time for that, right? Because if you want to consistently get better, you need to be consistently treating it like a job. Sprinkle the stuff you enjoy in there if you need it to adhere to training and stuff like that. But like, tell you what feels good: winning.
Yeah. Getting better is enjoyment.
Getting better and winning is enjoyment.
Not getting bitter.
Losing and getting bitter is not.
Yeah.
But being really good at your metcons in the gym is fantastic.
Yeah.
But it's not if you're losing because you're not strong enough every time you go to a comp.
Yeah.
Right. So that's in that off season. It's like skill based and also like taking stock of like what you're good at, what you're bad at.
Yeah.
And actually reprioritizing your training to do more of the stuff that you're bad at to get better at it, and do less of the good stuff to keep it in there, to keep the skill there.
Yeah. So besides like one motioning, a stone, and vipering, I could give 3 things everyone should be able to do.
Oh, please.
One is just squat, and it seems stupid, and it can be a front squat, it can be a back squat, it can be a high bar, but there's a lot of people in the sport that can't squat well.
Which is always fun when a squat event comes up.
Yeah, and you
haven't
notice it. Like a lot of people just don't have a nice looking efficient squat.
Yeah.
Like they just butcher it really bad.
And side note, we often might not squat during a specific training period, right? Like if you're training for a comp, you might not have a squat pattern in there necessarily, or you might have a very low intensity, low volume accessory squatting.
I try to keep something, and the same for all of my athletes, because like my hip mobility, my range through my hips, that bottom position, lapping a stone, everything, my knees feel better.
Yeah.
It's almost like rehab, prehab.
Yeah.
It
100%.
feels like it keeps my lower body together.
If it's programmed correctly. But also in that off season, it's a great time to focus more on those fundamentals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Second one, power cleans.
Yep.
Everyone should learn how to use their hips in a power clean, and no one will bust their elbows and destroy themselves on a continental clean. And you'll just be better at continental cleaning.
Sure.
Or if it's light enough, you could just power clean it.
Yeah.
Not muscle clean, like actually catch in the bottom position, learn how to power clean. I think it's the one thing that we just don't learn how to effectively do is get our hips involved and use our whole body to get a bar off the floor.
And on a side to that, just learning how to go through triple extension.
Yeah.
If there's one thing that I like, even just taking our Strongman Saturday on the weekend,
do clean high pulls or something.
Anything.
Box jump.
Even like pressing, like push pressing, like heels are glued to the floor.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Like
behind the neck
throws,
presses.
Yeah.
You can regress it back to very simple movements.
Yeah. Throws, triple extension.
Yeah.
Like non-existent a lot of the time.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Like just like the power clean translates so well, and just like backward ball throws or anything can translate so well to just teaching triple extension.
Yeah. There's a reason, like in NFL, they still keep them in a lot of their training.
Yeah.
They won't squat and catch it. They won't snatch or do anything too technical, but like a good, solid power clean, throw straps on.
Yeah, totally. Number 3.
All heavyweights should at least try to split jerk. Because I guarantee there'll be a small percentage that will actually do really well at it. There'll be a small percentage that will go, oh, this actually is easy and I'm quite good at it. Maybe I'll do it. And then there'll be the other half that just go, oh, this isn't cheating. This is actually hard.
Can I add a 4th that all heavyweights should do?
What's that?
2 to 3 sessions of half an hour.
Turn up to comps?
Yeah. 2 to 3 half an hour blocks of zone 2 cardio.
Yeah. I mean, we could all probably benefit from that if we're not doing moving events and getting it somewhere else, or if we have a physical job or a laborious job, maybe not, but
something.
Yeah. If you can't get through an entire session without dying and falling off, then you can't get the adequate volume in to get better at what you do.
You can't handle session density.
Yeah, because you're not fit enough.
Yeah. But also just for general health.
Yeah.
Too. Cool. Managing, that's not the right one.
What were you reading?
I was reading the one below. So we're talking about...
Talk about that?
Yeah, we can talk about that. I think we did.
Yeah, sure.
So we're talking about off-season, bows in the quiver and stuff like that. And then but looking down the lens of a full year of training and what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Planning the year?
Yeah, so I hear it a lot, but there'll be a couple of people that will just go, this is about me. Because it's kind of about them.
Yeah.
Well, they spark the thought.
Yes.
And a lot of people have done it at the start of the year. They've just gone, all the comps are out. I'm going to do this, 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 and this. Like, I'm going to plan out my year.
Yeah.
I want to hit this max by this date. I want to hit this by this date. And like, they've got their whole year planned out almost to the week.
Yes.
And like, I don't know if I'm going to be too sore next week to hit a stone that I would like to hit.
Yeah.
I'm hitting a top single on a stone that's meant to be a comfy single today.
Yeah.
I have no idea what that is.
Yeah.
Let alone planning out 6 PBs that I want in 6 months. I'm not getting them. I'm not going to train for 6 months on 6 different events trying to peak and max those, plus comps in between. So like, I don't know, if you just plan things in too much detail, life changes. Not that it changes for the worse or the better.
Yeah.
It just changes. The course changes.
It's a different sport to other strength sports. Just in terms of
powerlifters do 2 comps a year.
Yeah, or if you
squat,
do
bench, and
or
deadlift.
if you do 4 and they know where they are, it's the same 3 parameters every single time.
Yeah,
or weightlifting, for example. Right?
Yeah,
it's a different sport. It's a different beast.
Yeah, and they're not outside. They're not inside. All these different factors as to like, you can make every single plan to I want to hit this on this date.
Yeah,
and then you go outside and it's raining and the log's wet.
Yeah.
So if you're latched on to the idea of I need to hit this number by this date, and it doesn't happen, you feel like you failed.
Yeah.
When you probably put 10 kilos on your lift, you just didn't put 15, but you're devastated that you didn't get the extra 5.
Yeah.
When other people that you talk to may have put none.
Too rigid of expectations leads to disappointment.
Yeah. I used to write notes at the start of every year, and I've still got them because they're saved from old phones of like numbers goals. And when I go back and look at them, there's like heaps that I've ticked off and done well at. And then there's a couple that just stayed the same for 3 years.
Yeah.
Because it took 3 years to get it.
Yeah.
I didn't really get upset at it. I just looked at the end of each year and I was like, oh yeah, I ticked off 4 of those. 3, not even fucking close to. That's okay. I'll just copy and paste it to next year.
We've talked about this before, but like Strongman's a sport where there's more buckets to fill. If you've got X amount of resources, so you've got X amount of sand, you've got a finite resource of energy, training time, competition, all that sort of stuff, and you're putting them into 3, you've got the same sand and you're putting it into 3 buckets or 2 buckets, weightlifting, powerlifting, or you're putting them into 30 buckets, right? And that's realistic. Think about it. So there are some fundamentals that stay the same, or the pillars that we talk about in Strongman. But one competition has axle deadlift and power stairs. So you don't touch a normal deadlift a whole heap in that block.
Yeah.
Your axle deadlift might get better. Your power stairs might get better, and triple extension might get better. And then it has a monster dumbbell and a Viking press, for example. but you don't touch log a heap. Then the next cycle you have log, on the next comp you have log, right? Over the course of a year, the competitions that you do, the modalities that you do them in, are exponentially greater.
Yeah.
So how do you expect to objectively say this, this, and this? If I'm setting too many, right?
Yeah.
I might set 2. But like if I want to try and consistently reach for 6 specific goals across 6 different things, and I'm going to throw other things into the year, it becomes very, very hard, right? And your expectation to be able to hit that many, like we don't hit fucking PRs all the time. I think from a broader lens, I have gotten better and better as I'm being the strongest that I've been.
Yeah,
but I think I've gotten better and better in terms of skill acquisition, skill on certain things, picking up certain things better, being able to jump into any comp quicker, or a base level of strength and skill to be able to start peaks a lot quicker.
Yeah, we've said that heaps.
Yes.
You go back 3 years ago on our Instagram and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I could do that now.
Yes.
That seems heavy. Was I that strong?
Mm-hmm.
But I think overall, base level, zero hype, just walk into the gym and numbers that you can move for volume, like sets, reps, work capacity, is much, much higher.
And all-round strength. I have a look at 8 events and I look at middleweight series.
Yep.
There's no event there that I think like, oh, I need to like really work on that.
Yeah,
right?
the yoke's really heavy, and quite a number of years ago, like anytime a yoke popped up in comp, I was just like, oh, here we go.
Or like monster dumbbell or like a Viking press would be like, oh, okay, like I got to try and get 80. Yeah. Right. Well, now it's like, okay, well, I can do that.
Yeah.
I haven't trained for it, but I know it. So over the space of time, right, you've got to look at the fact that like you're setting rigid expectations around a certain amount or a constrained amount of time to hit goals. And this is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Too many goals and too rigid expectations around those goals in a 12-month period, and disappointment because you're not hitting those goals within those constrained time constraints. When you've got so much going on.
Yeah.
You've got so many events. If you're still doing comps on top of that, right? If you're not doing comps, maybe.
Yep.
Right? But that's a lot to throw on the plate, and then have disappointment. And disappointment for still getting better.
Yeah. People are disappointed because they PB'd, but not quite as much as they wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you put the work in, you've had a great preparation.
Yep.
And as a whole, right, because you're strongman, you're not a PB lifter, you're a strongman competitive lifter. Yep. So are you doing better in competitions on a whole? Are you faster on your returns? Are you getting through the whole day better and feeling less fucked the next day?
Yeah.
Are you able to jump into more competitions and not have to redline all the time to reach the current standard? Like, are you scared of any events now when they come up? Or do you feel pretty confident in your skills and that the skills are comprehensive enough that you can jump into all these comps? All things that show great mark of improvement, but we're not going to have the same objective 3 lift or 2 lift improvements year in and year out than other strength athletes.
Yeah. And you got to remember that while you're getting better, so is everyone else.
Yes.
So if you weigh yourself up on everyone else, and the comp events generally get heavier. So if you're weighing yourself up off that and you're like, I'm not getting any better, it's like you may have got a 20 kilo PB, but so did they.
Yeah.
So you're both doing great.
Yeah.
But it just depends how you look at it.
Yeah, of course.
Watching Controlled Chaos weightlifting on the weekend, someone would get like a 3 kilo PB on their total.
Yeah.
From last year.
Yeah.
Stoked.
Yeah.
Because they squeezed out that extra 3 kilos, executed.
Yeah.
Different sort of sport. You've only got 6 lifts and you need to nail it.
Yes.
But still, like the smallest amount of progress and people were super happy.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
Smitty hit a 100 kilo dumbbell.
Yeah.
I think he hit 95 at Circus Freaks last year.
Yeah.
It's 5 kilos in a year.
Yeah.
He was probably pretty close to having a crack at 100 a year ago.
Yeah.
So you could look at it as like, that's massive, that's 100 kilos, this and that. Or you could look at it as, oh, that's 5 kilos in a year. That's shit. He posted it with his stones from 150 to 170.
Yeah.
And doing 150 back at Strong Melbourne.
Yeah.
Like I hit 150 at Strong Melbourne like 7 years ago.
A long time ago.
And I'm just at 190.
Yeah.
And I've been stuck at 190 for 3 years.
Right. Because the better you get, the less they come to.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like when you break through that plateau, it'd be great. But you might not. But 190 in the grand scheme of things, in terms of like what you need to hit as a weight class athlete in your weight class,
Yeah.
it's probably enough.
Yeah.
For the most part, right? Like there's probably not much more that you need to actually do to win actual competitions.
Yeah, there's not as much of a push.
No, but there's other things that come up that do need more of a push, because you might be losing points there, but you're not going to be losing a lot of points on stones in that weight class.
Yeah.
All right.
This is why I think the 105s will get very strong very quick, is because there's a big chunk of people all around the same level.
Yeah.
And they're a little bit up and down.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with us in the 90s.
Yeah.
And everybody just turned up.
Yeah.
Every year, every 6 months, everybody just came back so much stronger. Hard. Yeah. Because everyone was tight. Yeah. It wasn't like there was just, oh, he's here, I'm always going to be second, they're always going to be third, and you kind of just cruise the year. Yeah. Like talking to Chris in New Zealand and stuff, and there's only a couple of 90s there. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, everybody's sort of where they're at, but I've got some lifts where they're my events and other people don't have them. So it's very hard to push yourself to like really drive that up when you know it's kind of in the bag. Yeah. So whereas the 105s, they're just such a close mix at the moment.
Yeah, it breeds competitiveness, and competitiveness drives the sport higher.
And that's what's happened with the heavyweights, I reckon, in the last
the heavyweights have just exploded
since COVID,
in this country. Yeah,
basically,
so impressive.
They were non-existent before COVID, and then maybe everyone sat around and just ate and got heavy. Yeah, yeah. And then since then, the open women, same thing. Yes, that was near non-existent. Yeah, a couple of years.
Yeah, and definitely on a revival too.
Yeah.
The other thing is probably just like things change, right?
Yeah.
Like in a 12-month period, a lot changes when you're setting those goals.
Yeah, you might go on a holiday. You might just not want to train for 2 months. Work might take over.
Comps come up.
You might get sore knees and then you can't do anything for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Or you change comps. You qualify for a different comp. So, yeah, I think being fixated on end goals too hard
Loose
is a
plan.
bad thing.
Like have a plan. You know what I mean? Like good to have a plan, good to have some ideas, good to set some goals for the year. Just be conscious about like how much are you setting? What are your it's all expectations. Coaching is so much expectation.
Manage expectations.
Managing expectations. Yeah. Like if you want to get better at this and this, then this stuff has to probably take a back burner. You can't get better at all of it at once. If you want to do these 5 comps, you can do these 5 comps. It's fun and you'll get better in general, but you are not going to be driving X, Y, and Z to their peak potential in the next 12 months if you're doing these 5 competitions, right? It's just expectation management. And if you take a look at what your goals you're setting, the timelines that you're setting them, the other stuff that your year looks like, whether it's life, family, who the fuck knows what you got going on in your plate. Is it realistic, right? And do I need to cull this down a little bit?
Yeah.
And narrow my field of focus so I can really focus on nailing these 2 or 3 and then also doing some competitions or something like that as well.
Yeah. I think, the year's planned out and spaced out well enough.
Yes.
But everyone's just very like diligent in exactly what they want to do.
Yes.
Which when you take it serious, that's sort of where you go with it.
Yeah, that's a great thing to
You're
have.
like, this year's going to be my year. I'm going to do this, this, and this.
It's a great thing to have with some flexibility.
Yeah.
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 Love it. We're going to keep today short and sweet. Thank you for tuning in. We will be back with you when Lee gets back from Japan boarding.
Yeah. Boarding, training.
Wearing kimonos.
Maybe.
Playing Mario Kart.
Probably. Yeah. No, I found a gym in Osaka. Yeah. And they have some strongman gear.
Cool.
It looks fun. It looks tiny and the roof looks low, but there's like a big log.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Love it.
Already hit them up, so.
So there will be strongman happening.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right. We'll see you in a fortnight or so's time.
Yeah.
Enjoy your training.